Welcome to Industry Notes today, where we really, just get to the bare bones of the industry in terms of the truth and how our guests are really paving the way of their success. Because a lot of the times you can't pick all of that stuff out from an acceptance speech. Our guest today is, I hope I'm saying this right. I'll say multi-hyphenate, but reason being multi-hyphenate because he acts, he writes, I'm sure he directs and also produces.
One day,
Because
one day.
but yeah, no, I introduced to you David Alade, and we're really excited to have you, bro. Whoop, 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 whoop.
Thank you for having me, man. Thank you. Thank you.
Nice, all good. As always, I'm gonna go straight in. Like it's really amazing just watching your trajectory. I was touching on this before we started recording, but I think seeing you go from like acting to writing, it feels like, like when you're watching a video game, right? And as you progress through the game, you start picking up new skills and like new weapons. So at the beginning, you start off with a knife or your fists, and
Mm.
then by level 8, you've got the rocket launcher and the
PK or
machine.
something.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? So that you can face the big bosses and all of that stuff. And I feel like that's what we're watching with you. But if I take it back to the beginning, it'll be amazing. I really just want to understand, like, where did acting like first start for you?
I probably got a bit more of a musician story because acting
Yeah,
started for me in the church. So yeah,
yeah,
I was a part of my church's drama group, drama club, whatever it was. I was about 14 and we would meet every Tuesday. And I didn't see a career, I didn't even see a talent in it. I just loved making people laugh. I was the youngest in the group, everyone was older than me, and I was literally there on some, how am I going to make them laugh this week? How am I going to make them laugh? That was all it was. That was all it was. Until I guess some of the older people in the group took it a bit more serious and we started working on skills and trying to refine stuff. And that's when I was like, okay, cool, maybe I've got a nick for this. How do I start to sharpen it, but properly? Looked up identity drama school as most of us did. I joined there and then yeah, since then that's when it kind of became okay, cool, I want to do this. Ended up getting signed by the agency and I was rep by them for a couple of years and then I moved to Middleweek Newton and yes, it's been history ever since.
What? So you know what, right? Dialing back, the plays that you were doing at church or the drama group at church, right? What age was that? Like, what age was it like? Do you know what? Actually, let me try this thing.
Hmm. I probably said, okay, I want to have a go at this when I got to college. So I was doing these plays when I was in secondary school. I was like 14, 15, 16. And I'm not sure if you know much about church, but church plays probably go on like 3 or 4 times a year and there's loads of rehearsals to it. And then it just pulls in a church audience anyway. There's
Yeah.
usually a good message behind the play and then it's done. And I still never was on acting then because I wanted to be a footballer. Bro, I wanted to be a footballer so badly. I was decent. I was all right. My big brother had his fingers in like the football hierarchy and whatnot. He was a scout for a bit. He trained at Luton. He was a coach at Fulham, and I used to go on trials at different clubs and whatnot. It never really worked, but I guess I'm probably a better actor.
You should have been in Red Pitch.
In it, in it.
Wow. Okay. Interesting. So, right. So then you decided, all right, cool. You know what? I wanna actually like pursue acting, and then you went to identity. What was that like for you?
um, it was probably my first time being in a place where I was like, no, like I wanna really smash this. Like the attitude that kind of came into that class. When I think back on it, it's kind of strange that I was thinking like that. Every week I would come in, I'd be like, no, I have to be the best in the class. Like that was just kind of my mindset. Like, no, I have to make sure everyone in here knows I'm a sick actor.
Wow.
And I guess it's not super helpful because this is an extremely objective industry. No one's a good actor, bad actor, excited. Do you know what I mean? It's just taking on roles and being able to fulfill them, essentially, right? But back then, I was always kind of after my teachers' thumbs up. Oh, you've been good, you've been amazing, you've been amazing. Just because I knew how the school worked, we needed to make sure we was in a place where you could get yourself an agency read, which would be a chance to be signed by the agency, right? So it was in terms of like whether that be off your teacher's recommendation, whether that be off the showcase at the end of the year, or an agent coming to run one of your classes. I really wanted to make sure I was coming in with my A game every week. Do you know what I mean? And that's probably what I put down my success, if you call it, at the school, because I got signed after I think my second term, which is good. And when I went in there, I was like, I want to get signed. I joined at school like I'm here to get an agent. I'm not here for like anything else. I want to be here, get an agent, start my career, kind of thing. And
Wow.
yeah, I guess that channeling that thought is probably what made that happen, right? Some other people join that school simply to train, simply to just become better actors, which is cool. Everyone has their own reasons for joining. I was like, I'm joining to get an agent. And yeah,
You
it
know
was the
what?
only avenue I knew, bro. I'm a black boy growing up in Peckham, and John Boyega's just done Star Wars, right? And this is the only thing I'm seeing in terms of someone from where I'm from that looks like me in Star Wars. How did he do it? This is the school. Let's go. That was all I knew. I was so like dumbfounded. I had no clue about drama schools. I didn't know about those things. All I knew was okay, cool. Let's go identity, and that's the only place I've ever trained.
Wow. So how did you know, right? How did you know that the there was a possibility of getting an agent like before joining? How did you understand that? Because I love the strategy. I love that. I'm like, what? But I'm also curious as to like how did you know that?
Just research, really. When you look at John's story and whatnot, he puts a lot of his success down to like the aid he had from Femi in the school. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And so when I saw that, I was just like, oh, like, I want a piece of that. Do you know what I mean? Like, or I want to be able to journey like that, or be in a place where I know there's you know what I mean? You can work a job at, let's say, retail, right? And there's no growth in the role that you have. But I
Yeah.
knew if I join this school, there's literally a ladder, and there's a route for me. So I said, why not? Let's do it.
I love that. I love that. And I love your clarity as well in terms of clarity of purpose, i.e., I'm coming here to be really good and land the agent, right? I had a question. I'm not an actor, so I'm just literally asking this out of, oh, I wonder if that's good, right? In terms of, or not good, but I'm just wondering something, right?
Yeah, of
So
course.
in hindsight, now that you finished, got your agent or got a new agent, you're repped, long story short, right? When you look back at that attitude and mentality, right, do you think that that was helpful to have that mindset? And the reason I ask, right, is because sometimes there can be a fine line between hunger and what's the word? It's not arrogance, but like being selfish, right? So, like with acting being collaborative, but then also, you want to be seen, like all of those things are amazing. How did you play that fine line between, look, I want to be good, but then also not being that guy that's like no one wants to work with because it's all about him?
Yeah, because I would say it was almost impossible, because I think when you understand acting, you understand it's a collaborative process.
Mm,
So my hunger bled into all of these things. So
mm,
I would be wanting to work with everyone. I would be wanting to mix up. I would want to, do you understand? It never ever made me not want to work with people. It made me want to work with everyone in the class. Like, you know what I mean? It made me want to change partner every week or blah, blah, blah. It was things like that. So hopefully the people I trained with don't have a bad word to say about me. I've loved working with every single one of them. Do you know what I mean? Like
yeah,
everyone
yeah,
have
yeah,
works
yeah,
where I can
yeah.
like, no, they're sick. Like everyone that I was in classes with, I can vouch for today and be
Yeah,
like, no,
yeah,
that's
yeah.
an amazing actor. Yeah.
Oh, I love that. I love that. I love that. I love that. That's amazing. And you know what? It's amazing that I haven't thought about it like that in terms of your hunger to succeed bleeding into all of the aspects, especially collaboration. That is, yeah, that's such an amazing answer. Okay, cool. So you finish, right? You finish at the school. Then what? What happens? Oh,
Um,
no, because you're signed now, innit?
yeah, I was
Yeah.
signed. So they helped me start my career, as you call it.
Yeah.
The first thing I ever booked was a Tesco advert, which was cool. But it was also my first ever audition, right? So I booked my first ever audition,
Wow.
which is probably the worst thing that can happen. Because then I suddenly think, oh, this is easy. Do you know what I mean? Like the first ever audition room I walk into is a Tesco commercial. I smile and push a trolley, and they're like, he's got it. And I go away like, this is gonna be bloody easy. And I'm quickly met with no, it isn't gonna be easy. Do you know what I mean? When you then go months without booking anything, and then you're like, God, this is tough. Do you know what I mean? I definitely felt like a fish out of water doing screen auditions in terms of self tapes, right?
Yep.
Or even going into the room and having to do a screen audition where I have to act.
Mm-hmm.
I remember being so confused, man, because I felt so free with acting on stage and not there being a camera that I didn't even understand how to do a screen audition. I didn't understand stillness. I didn't understand looking at someone that you're acting with, like everything was still melodramatic. Everything was still you could get away with doing it on stage. Do you know what I mean? So I remember coming out of one audition. I think it was for like a small couple lines in EastEnders, right? And believing that audition, and I was probably like, fam, what did I just go and do in that room? I know I've just done nonsense. Like, I don't understand how to audition in front of a camera. I had no clue. I remember calling my agent and being like, look, like, is there any way I can learn how to do this more? XYZ. She provided a few avenues and blah, 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 blah. At the time, I was still training at the school. So I remember having a really good teacher back then called Chris Simpson. And he really taught screen like no other. I hold on to some of the things he taught, like in terms of literally being still on camera, in terms of even tightening your laterals, your back muscles to be able to like project a deeper voice or a more sterner voice. And yeah, that's where I kind of learned most of, okay, cool, this is how you do a screen audition. You know what I mean? But I would say for a large part of the beginning of like my career, I had no clue what I was doing in terms of doing the self-tape or going to an audition where they're going to put on a camera and you're going to see that red light and then they're just going to read lines to you. Oh, I used
Wow.
to dread it. Yeah.
That's amazing. Wow. So that's so interesting in terms of being comfortable with stage, but then still finding your feet in those early stages with screen, right? Tell me a bit about like the stage side of things when you finished, like your background in plays and all of that stuff.
Okay. Cause of church and everything's in church stages.
True. Yep.
I had no problem with like projecting my voice. I wasn't like stage fright. Obviously, you feed off adrenaline and nerves and stuff,
Yep.
but I wasn't scared on stage. You know what I mean? I went to university, Anglia Ruskin. I done drama there, and
Oh,
everything we did
wow.
there was on stage too. So we would have plays at the end of your first year, your second year, your third year. We done Hamlet. I played the uncle, and it was really it helped. It definitely helped me refine things on stage in terms of like, right, this is how you project without a
Mm,
mic. This is how you hold stage presence, confidence, things like that. Yeah. And I
mm,
would say to me, that wasn't really taught. Do you know what I mean? I would say that was God that gave me that, okay, cool, I can stand on
mm,
stage and just do this. Do you know what I mean? And I would say all of those things there helped with doing stage auditions later. I wouldn't say I've done like loads of plays in it, but I would say the plays I have done have
yeah,
been quite good. So I've
yeah,
always want to look at like The Fisherman and doing it in Trafalgar Studios and touring it in
yeah.
Edinburgh and Nottingham and even Canterbury. And I loved that show. Like that to me was just like one of the best shows I could ever do. It's two Nigerian boys. It's set in Nigeria, me and Valentine, and we're just having so much fun on stage. And I think you learn most on the job. And I would say I learned almost everything I needed to know on that job.
Wow. Like, what was that like? And what did you learn? Because that, yeah, you're right. Like, that is amazing, and it's not a small play. Do you know what I mean?
Mm. The first thing it taught me was that Nigerians are allowed to be on stage, right? That was the first thing it taught me, that African kids in their own dialect, in their own tonations, right? Their own lingos are allowed to be on stage. I remember being just taken back by how African the play was and how white the audience was. Do you know what I mean? But still seeing that, okay, no, they're here to listen to us. And we're not going to bend or fold to make them understand. Do you know what I mean? And people still love the play because, I mean, acting is this universal language and emotions is this universal language. So I think that was the first thing it taught me. Africans can be on stage. And then the second thing it taught me was like effective multi-rolling, right? There's two characters, there's two people in this play, but there's about 8 characters in this play. We play mum, we play dad, we play the other brothers, we play police officers in the village, we play madmen, right? I play a madman called Abulu in the village. And I think doing all of that, that's why Fisherman just felt like the deep end for me, and it taught me so much. And big shout out to Bolahan, the writer, and Jack, the director. That play is just amazing. I've still got people who came up to me, I think, as late as last year, said, "No, I saw you in the Fisherman. That's the best thing I've ever seen." Do you know what I mean? And Fisherman was back in 2019. So yeah, that play taught me a lot. It taught me a lot, and those are things I hold on today, and those are things that you still see in my writing today. So yeah.
Man, I can see the enjoyment on your face, man. Just going back to it. That's amazing. You said wow, sorry, you said something deep that really just spoke to me. Just in terms of like, wait, like we're allowed to be on stage. That was like, whoa.
Yeah, man. I think everything I've seen before then was either Shakespeare or just people talking with their normal accents, British accents, or
Mm.
some kind of American or something. But to see like an African on stage, and it's not for comedic reasons, right? We're just gonna come and witness this play. There's gonna be funny things, yeah, but Fisherman's a tragedy, right? So we're gonna come and watch this play and we're gonna hear these accents, but not to laugh. We're gonna hear them for who they are. To me, I was like, wow, this is nuts. Like people get to see my mom on stage, my dad on stage, stuff like that. Yeah, that's what really was like, okay, I love this show. Yeah.
Man, that is wow. I love this job. So all right, cool. It seems so far at this point in the story that everything is about acting. What made you start picking up the pen?
Um, University. So in my final year,
Mhm.
you have to do a dissertation, right? And mind you, university to me, I'm sure everyone's, oh, it's a waste of time. Da, 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 da. To me, I feel like all of it was a waste of time, barred my dissertation. Right? So my dissertation, it was like, cool, you have to where I do drama, you
Mhm.
can split your percentages. You could do something performative and something written, but you just have to say which is which. So I was like, cool, I'm gonna go for I think I went for 60-40 or 50-50, like even 50 performance and 50 writing.
Mhm.
And there was a topic in university that I really loved, which was verbatim. And verbatim's it's a it's a drama technique, something like that. And it's when you take real stories, like if we were to record this conversation and I use real things you said and
Mhm.
put them in text to make a show, but we still say the real things that you said. So
And is
go
it all every single bit that is every single bit of dialogue in the play is has to be
No,
oh,
no,
okay, cool.
but there are real things that you've said, or I
Oh,
take what you said and create what you've said.
oh, okay, yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, yeah,
There's strong reference. All right, cool. Yeah,
you
I got you.
understand. So, I went to Anglia Ruskin in Cambridge, and obviously Cambridge is a really white city. The lecturers are really white and whatnot. So I thought to myself, cool, how do I bring London to this? Because if I do that, there's no way I can fail. There's no way they can tell me I'm wrong, right? I thought I got to do something that no one can tell me, oh no, that's not that, right? So that cool. I'm from London, I'm from Peckham. I've had my experience in postcode nonsense and whatnot, right? I'm gonna look at performativity in postcode wars. That's what I went for. The fact that obviously when I was growing up, it's less now, but different areas had different color bandanas,
Mm,
i.e.,
mm, mm,
costumes.
mm, mm.
If you were to bump into your opposition how would you react? How would you perform? Fights in the streets were considered as stages, right? So that's what I wrote my essay about. And then I went away and I wrote a short 30-minute play, which became Fox Hunting, which was about some stories that I took from my friends who had experiences in knife crime. One was my own when I got stabbed, and then some was like an arrest. Another one was someone inflicting something on someone else. And I just wrote three characters who each told their story and called two of my friends from my identity to come up to Cambridge and perform it with me at my uni. And wow, got a first class, won an award at graduation, all of that. And I was like, okay, cool. Do you know what I mean? Then when I finished, I got some encouragement from my family. Like, look, why don't you take that small little 30 minutes and do a play? Got amazing financial help from my older sister. I chipped in a little bit, but obviously the majority was from how I'm fresh out of uni. I've got no money. And then we put on this play at Courtyard. I took the same friends I performed with at uni, added two more, had 5 different stories, and I went to get more. And I would say it was like my first jab at just putting something on. And it went well, do you know what I mean? Like off West End reviews, we were getting 4s and 5s, and like yeah, it was to me, it was like my first stab at it. Because when I look at it, I don't think it's all that, right? But people today still say that no, it was a decent play. Like it was a good play. So yeah, that was like my first stab at writing.
You know what? That's deep, right? Because I'm like, when I think of like who was it? I'm trying to think if it was just one or a few. No. So it's 3 people. So it's Daniel Bailey, Abraham Adeyemi, and Nelson. You know the Nelson I'm talking about.
I don't know Nelson. I know that.
Adioson. I think his surname's Adioson,
Okay,
right?
cool.
But you know, he's amazing, BAFTA award winning and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Nelson, we love you. I know your surname begins with an A and a D. But you know, amazing like experts in their field, right? They started off doing plays, but they were putting on these plays and stuff, right? And it wasn't that. Like at the beginning, you know, like I in the stories when I've spoken with them, their first play didn't wasn't getting like
Oh yeah.
of like reviews and critical acclaim. Do you know what I mean? So I find that amazing. To be fair, did you realize that that's not a small thing?
No, no. To this day, I don't. Like to this day, I don't, because I just felt like I would say I love my community, right? If I say I'm doing something, they're coming out. They're gonna help me set it out. That's just my community. I love them to bits, and I always let them know that you lot are behind me. You lot are my backbone. Because whenever Dave is doing something, David's name's on something, you lot are like, we're showing up, right? And that's what I love about them. So that's what I just put it down to. I put it down to the fact that I've got a good network. I've got a good community behind me, right? So no, I didn't. And it's also why I didn't write anything after that for ages. Do you know what I mean? That was 2019. And fair enough, the pandemic went and stole 2 years of it. No. Fox Hunting was 2018.
Yeah.
And then after that, I suffered a loss. You know what I mean? I lost my dad. So then that kind of sent me on a bit of a off tangent.
Mm-hmm.
And then 2019, I ended up doing Fisherman. And then following year, the pandemic still was 2 years from us. So I kind of feel like I just fast forwarded till now, innit? But
And you weren't really trying to be a writer like that. It's like a
understand, I was
cool
just
thing that you did. Yeah.
yeah, it was more on a like, look, I can't sit down and wait for auditions. I can't sit down and wait for opportunities. I have to make them. That's just who man is who my people are like. We don't sit and wait. Do you know what I mean? We're always gonna be like, oh, bro, what can we do? And then how can you lot help? That's just how you have to, because bro, you'll catch dust before someone's like, here's a lead role in a new Disney Plus. You know what I mean? Like, so what's the point? Yeah.
I love that. I love that. So cool. Fox Hunting many years ago. Sunny Side Up. What prompted that? I mean, obviously I know the plays about your dad. And my condolences, and it can't have been easy as well. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
what made you actually put the play together?
I would say my dad is a huge character, right? He was a huge character. He was always in support of what I was doing. things like that. My siblings have always been in support of what I was doing. And I kind of look at my family in a different way, and we're characters. And every time I look at them, I'm like, bro, this story needs to be told, man. My oldest sister, I used to say when I was really, really young, I really want to put cameras everywhere and just record us and just put it out there because we're so funny. And that she always used to say that, right? So I think when my dad passed, I was like, bro, there's no way the world isn't gonna meet this man. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's no way, like, it just felt like his death was going in vain if I didn't tribute him in some way or another in the arts, right?
Wow.
So I was like, cool. Sunny Side Up took me how many years to write? About 3 years, right? As soon as Fisherman was finished, because this is what I shout out to Bolahan again, and it's an amazing pen game, right? And I said Africans could be on stage. I was like, wait, so what stops me from putting my family on stage? As soon as Fisherman was finished, I started the draft of Sunny Side Up. I think I wrote one paragraph because it took me so long to write. It took me 3 years to write, right? Or 2 years and a bit to write, just because it was so personal. And I was struggling on how do I tell this story. I remember one of the drafts I wrote was basically a David play, and it lost all my dad's essence. And somebody who'd read that draft was like, "You sure this is about your dad? Like, why don't you go back through and just ask yourself the question, where was my dad when this was happening? Where was my dad when this was happening? Where was and then when I started putting my it made therapy. It made a mad play. Do you know what I mean? It made the play when I started thinking, okay, where was he in these stages of my life? And that massive journey, obviously, is what made Sunny Side Up. I was always like, I want to do the play at Theatre Peckham. That was kind of, I had no connection to Theatre Peckham, mind you. I'd never even been there. Never even been there. But I was like, it has to be at Theatre Peckham. Just because this place set in Peckham. I wanted it to feel very like rich in terms of the soil. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
this is the
straight.
place that I've grown. I've never been to Nigeria, obviously, and that was off the back of like we're growing up in like working class poverty, right? There's 5 kids. And when I think about it today, where the hell is my mum and dad gonna get money to fly all 7 of us to Nigeria, right? So there was never that. So this is where I called home, Peckham. So I was like, I have to Theatre Peckham. I sent my draft through to them. They gave me some notes. I made another draft and I got contacted by a producer that worked at the time. And he was like, yeah, we're thinking of doing it. Send me a draft by this day. And then I joined their rep company because I wanted to get a bit more in the building. Join their rep company to train a little. Suzanne had a read of it. She had also suffered some losses, parents, and she connected with it in that way, right? She didn't come to me on some, I want to direct it. She came to me on some like, look, I connect with this. Do you know what I mean? And that's where we found that relationship to be like, cool, let's do it. So I done it at the they put on their Fringe Festival 2022, and I done it at their Fringe, which was a slightly shorter version in the studio with no staging, and it was good. 4 shows, and my community came out to me. It sold it out before it started. So I mean, it was sold out before I started the show. So yeah, my community again, and then Fit Peckham was like, no, let's commission this. Let's give it a go. Then we did it this year for 3 weeks. And yeah, it went well. It went well, and now we're trying to create a tour for it, hopefully for next year. So yeah,
Man, I love that. Well done, man. Well done. You like that is an amazing journey, very organic, very truthful. Um, you know, you said something right about like, look, I wanted to get into the building and join in their rep company. And I guess as I'm speaking to you, you are very smart and strategic, and I love it. And I don't mean that in like a vindictive, calculated sort of way that, you know, some people can use those skills for like in a negative way, innit? But
yeah.
I love the reason I love it, right, is because I feel like, you know, sometimes like there's something that I guess kind of pushing at the moment is like how important theater is and how helpful it can be by just engaging with the art form and the theaters that are putting on all these amazing plays, right? But then I feel like some people don't understand the actual routes to get into those buildings. So can you explain what it meant to join the rep company and what that was actually like?
I think theaters are like, well, most theaters, hopefully, they're like families, right? So, from the artist director to the producers to, they're like a family, right? So if you want to do work at theater, and I know people who have done this as well. Like I know people who have done this concerning the Almeida, right? Um, Try and get in the building, whether that's through their schemes or their classes or their rep companies if they have one. Most theaters put on some kind of training or program for either writers and actors and stuff like that. Join it, and then you understand how that theater works, and you can build your network, communicate with the people there, tell them you have ideas, things like that. Like, cool. I had sent my play to Theatre Peckham before I found a way in, but remember, this is off the back of the pandemic, so there really wasn't a way in, right? So I had sent my play, and then I heard they were doing a rep company, and I thought, look, I've just been sat at home for the last 2 years. I had done a play during the pandemic, like over Zoom, but it was over Zoom. Do you know what I mean? Like, I've been sat at home for the last years. Let me go and sharpen these muscles again. So I was like, let me go Theatre Peckham. One, it's local. Two, is where I want to put my play. So it gives me a chance to see these people face to face and for them to feel my energy, right? You're not going to be able to film me over an email. If I can meet you and speak to you, hopefully we get off to a good start and you're more inclined to put on my play. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that was kind of me getting into that building, meeting people, knowing Suzanne at the time. Toby was there, meeting Toby, meeting the producers that was there, and being like, cool, like I'm here, I act and I write, and I want to know you guys. That was just kind of the angle, yeah.
I love that. I love
Thank
that.
you, man.
Take notes, people. So look, you've been nominated for best playwright and best male lead actor in a play, right? At the Black British Theatre Awards.
Shout out
Uh,
to man. Yeah.
what how does that feel, man?
It feels good. It feels good. I'm not good at these adjectives. That's why I say good and well and stuff like that. But yeah, no, it
No,
feels
but you
good.
know what? I understand that, right? And I guess the reason I'm asking is because it's very clear that any accolades and things that get added to you, right, are not the reason why you did it.
Do you understand?
And it's like, and it's like, I feel like, I guess the reason I asked that question is because this play has come from such a heartfelt place, right? Whether or not anyone showed up or anyone liked it or not, you know, like when you wear a good outfit, yeah, and it doesn't matter if someone gets it or not. You're just like, yeah, it's cool. Like,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah,
you
yeah.
don't know this, Brian. It's cool. It's
Do you know
fine.
what I mean?
You don't get it. Like, I'm like, oh, okay, cool. But sold out. People love it. You know, it expanded from your dissertation. No, not from your dissertation, but from the small fringe appearance. And you know, now we're thinking about a tour, etc. I guess in that regard, how does it feel that people are like, you know, nominating you and, you know, like regarding you as like, nah, that was sick, you know?
Um, it feels more fulfilling that I'm able to do something like this for like my dad and my family. I think that's what kind of is like, right, if I was gonna do something and to be nominated and we're gonna tour it and that, like it's this. And I think that to me surprises me, right? So I would say that's the side that fulfills me. I'm also someone that understands, right, that awards and all these things are still very opinionated, right? There was still a bunch of people or one person who said, oh yeah, that should be nominated, but that was just their opinion, right? There's also people who may have come to my play and didn't like it. That's just the reality. And I'm fine with all those things because that's art. Some people get it and some don't, right? And that's why I would say good that okay, yeah, it was my work, but more fulfilled that what I set out to do for like my dad's legacy and stuff like that is coming to pass. Do you know what I mean? And I think that's the angle that helps me want to do the show again. Yeah, that's the reality because when I finished, I was like, I don't know if I want to do it anymore. But the reaction and people to this day saying to me, "Oh, it's the best thing I've ever seen," or "No, when's it coming back?" Makes me go, "Okay, cool. Let's let's keep milking this cow. Do you know what I mean? That's just how I kind of look at it. Let's keep going then. Yeah.
I love that, man. I love that. My bro, congratulations.
Thank you, man.
I'm so happy that we got to catch up and our paths have crossed because yeah, like I said and I was saying before, I've seen you in like a bunch of stuff and we even spoke about fox hunting. Imagine that.
Amazing.
But it's amazing that you know the world is really seeing you now. Like you know whether they do or don't, that's up to them, innit? But I think for me personally, I love seeing people who are talented like just rise and rise and rise and rise and rise and rise, and that's what we're seeing with you.
Thank you, man. Thank you.
It's amazing. Before I go, before we conclude, what's the future looking like, man? What's going on?
I'd say right now, episode 1 of Still Up. It's on Apple TV. I'm in that. If you got access to AMC, I'm in a show called Documentary Now. Soldiers of Illusion Part 1. I'm in that as well. Um, Stay tuned for Sunny Side Up the tour. By God's grace, we get it sorted. It's not easy. I'm also thinking of writing another play. Yeah, I'm thinking of writing another play. Everything I write is personal, so yeah, as you can imagine, it could take long, but hopefully it isn't as long as 2-3 years. So yeah, thinking of writing another play, getting the bones of that down,
Okay.
and yeah, trying to get into screenwriting as well. Shout out my big brother, Terrell Williams, man. He just been holding my hand through trying to walk through getting into screenwriting. So yeah, trying to get into that as well. So yeah, that's pretty much the future. Yeah.
Love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Well, we look forward to seeing the success and we'll definitely be catching up soon, my bro. Thank you.
I appreciate you, man.
See
Thank
you
you.
later.